Welcome into Honorado and Bagnardi. Chris Honorado, Sean Bagnardi with you here. Bags, here's the good news, man. You know I don't drink coffee.
Yep. No hot beverages for you at all.
Yeah, no hot beverages. But this is what's left over from last night's 11 o'clock crew from the newscast. We still got plenty of Sour Patch Kids. So if I need a pick-me-up today, I'll be into the Sour Patch Kids. Already back at the TV station here this morning. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. Hopefully you caught some of the match 2 over the weekend, and you've heard by now certainly the good news that the NBA, the NHL, they're all like entering kind of their own phase 2s. And I was skeptical, and we'll bring our guest in here in a second, get his take on it. But I really didn't think we'd see anything till the NFL season. But I think I'm going to be wrong, which is a good thing.
Yeah,
not a new thing, but a good thing.
Yeah, I'm starting to think you might actually be right.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, here's a guy who knows a lot more than we do. Adam Lefkoe, who is a host of NBA on TNT, as well as his own show, The Lefkoe Show, on the Bleacher Report app. And he was part of the Match 2 coverage this weekend as well with that pre-match show on Bleacher Report. Adam, it's good to see you, man. How are you?
Man, it's got to feel good to be in the office. So I only get to go to Bleacher Report like once a month. And it's funny you say I know more. Nobody knows anything right now. It's just educated guesses and waiting for news alerts. But I agree with you guys to wake up today and see that the NBA has been having very serious discussions about starting at the end of July, and that the NBA Players Association has come out and said, we want to play basketball soon. And I'm just going through the internet right now and seeing people come up with plans for tournaments, and it's going to be in Orlando. Today, I don't know if it's because it was after Memorial Day, but people seemed very charged up to make a charge at coming back, and not a lot of discussions about Wave 2 or all the intricacies of bringing it back. The first thing is the league wants to come back. The players want to come back. It feels pretty good.
How do you, quickly just jumping off that, Adam, how do you want to see the league come back? Shawnee and I are both huge NBA guys, and we've discussed, like, do you just jump right into the playoffs? Why would you bring a team like, for instance, the Knicks into this, kind of sequestered location like in Orlando if they're just not necessary? How do you want to see it come back? Play the regular season or go straight to the playoffs?
From a money perspective, I'm very curious because all of these have teams with all of these teams have deals with their regional networks. And I know that you have to hit a certain amount in order for certain of those contracts to hit. So I'm curious. Listen, we're all controlled by money in the end and revenues and all that. So that's one reason why you might see some team like the Knicks. 2, these players want to get their checks. Their paychecks were cut short. And I don't think people realize that athletes don't get bi-weekly checks. They get money when they play, and then when they don't play, they don't get money. That's why NFL players, people are amazed when I tell them they get paid between August and January, and then they don't get any more checks. And then we wonder why these guys go broke. So for me, I want guys to play. I want, even the good or the bad, I want everyone to have a rooting interest. I think what's wrong if we play 2 to 3 weeks of 4 or 5 games and then we get into the playoffs, if it's possible at all. Because I also think there's so many unknowns about what could happen. You go right to the playoffs where it really means something, and then all of a sudden a star player, an Anthony Davis, a LeBron James, a Kawhi Leonard, God forbid, something happens and you make him rest 2 weeks during the playoffs versus 2 weeks in our trial test out regular season stage. That just makes a little bit of sense. Why make it so meaningful right away when we're not even entirely sure if it's doable? So that would be my reasoning there.
One of my big concerns about it is that I just want to feel like at the end of the season, no matter how they do it, if we crown a champion, that it's legitimate, that it's not something that like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, we're going to look back and say there's kind of an asterisk next to that one. For you, what would it take to feel like, okay, we're doing it, but we're doing it the right way, and this is a legitimate champion that we've crowned when it's all said and done?
Number one, Sean, you have control over the asterisks in your mind. There's supposed to be an asterisk next to Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds, but every year when the Hall of Fame comes up, they go, they're deserving. So really, like, that stuff is so subjective. There was a strike shortened season. We gave out a title there. what about when there was only 8 teams in the NBA? Like, there's a million ways to clarify it. All that happens is a name goes into a record book, and then 20 years from now, we forget and we go, wow, I think it's actually very impressive for a team to have all their momentum completely stricken away, to get tested for 3 to 4 months where they have no guidance, no discipline, they're on their own, and they were able to keep that team unity together, their physical ability up, and that mindset ready to go, that if you just get dropped and you win it right now, it's going to feel a little bit like March Madness, where, maybe we see some higher seeds go down early, but in the end, the champion is the champion. However they do it, I'm excited to see it, but I was more worried about losing a prime year of a LeBron or this Clippers team, and then us kind of going, what could have happened? As long as we get a conclusion, I'll feel okay.
What about playing without fans? What's your thought on that? It obviously
let's go back to Capital One's the match champions for charity, what we saw this past weekend, and I was at the first match. And the first match, I remember Barkley looked around and said, man, how did all these fans get here? I couldn't bring my friends, and now all these rich people are here. And there were people walking behind Tiger and Phil. And I don't know if that added a lot more pressure, but what we got to see in the match too was the sound bites and listening in. And I see people saying, oh, this is how they're piping it in the Bundesliga in Germany. There are certain contracts. Remember when they aired Sam Darnold's ghost soundbite during Monday Night Football? And there was that whole discussion between production people online saying that needs to get cleared. The issue is, if you just mic everybody up at an NBA game, they do have a lot of agreements right now that you can't air strategy and all that stuff because that can get relayed. But to me, there is so much more value in those interpersonal reactions to each other and hearing what they're going to say than the crowd. I think there's benefits to both. For me, I want to get the best possible scenario with what we have. So if there's no crowds there, I don't want fake crowd noise. I want to hear the players talking to each other. I want to hear the coaches. I want the players to be able to hear the announcers. There was a UFC fight recently where one of the fighters heard the announcer talking and changed his strategy midway. Not a big fan of that, but it's a unique experience during a unique time. And I'd rather it be true to this moment than pump in crowd noise because people like that. That to me, it's like, just enjoy what we have.
And Bags, you're saying, because we've talked about this, right, that you feel like the fact that you're going to strip away some sort of home court advantage, or I guess home crowd advantage in this case, it cheapens it a little bit for you. But Adam, man, I'm selfish here. If it means no fans, but we get to see it, I just want to see it.
Yeah. Like, to see Tom Brady struggle so mightily in the beginning of that match, and to see for the first time since that Falcons Super Bowl in the first half, it felt very much like that, where for the first half, everybody was dancing on Tom Brady's grave. And it was the same thing with the match too. And then he comes back and wins Super Bowl, but the match, to hit that shot and to say, suck on that, Chuck, and to rub it in and to get $100,000, from a professional golfer and all of that. It was such a cool moment to hear all of those things. And normally, if this was a crowd, you would just see mouth movement. I thought that was really, really special. I thought the match too was phenomenal because I thought it had very key elements. One, you have to have somebody taking it seriously to keep it moving along. And that's always going to be Tiger. Tiger did not miss a fairway the whole day. Tiger played one of the cleanest matches I've ever seen him play, and it was no big deal. But you need that guy to keep it along and keep pressure. You had Peyton that early got a little bit cocky, and he's able to talk over the breaks. Tom to go from not talking to that moment and become like that was such a social media firestorm. It was great. Phil Mickelson saying, I'm going to drop bombs, adding levity to the situation. And you need a guy that when a comeback is occurring, looks around and goes, we're making a comeback. Because then you're like, let's go. Charles was great. Justin Thomas was great. It was so great that I go to what you're saying, Chris, which was I underestimated my desire for competition. But it was competition with people that I care about. I haven't gotten yet to the 3 a.m. baseball. The draft felt like competition to me, but anything, the match was, it really was an oasis. It was really special to me.
Dude, I'm with you 100%. I absolutely loved it. It started slowly because you could tell, even Phil said, like, I was tight at the first tee. And
they
so
were tight the first one too.
Yeah.
It's everybody's watching. And I don't think people realize, like, these guys will check their social and they'll see the buzz and it's all on them. You know, we never watch one golfer for 18 holes. We bounce around and show the highlights and then here's Phil on 3. You don't see the approach. You don't see the first putt. You say, oh, this is him putting for. So to see everything, it's a lot of pressure.
Well, first of all, from the gray void here, I'm curious how things are on the surface of the sun.
Yes.
What
this is my white background. Yeah. I decided early on when I went on YouTube and I was like, let's see what all the late night hosts are doing. And it was like Jimmy Kimmel in his living room. And it was like Jimmy Fallon in like a room. And I just started seeing, I was like, all of this, I don't know, for me was a little, this is just a white board because I'm working. That's how I treat it. Because for me, I set it up and then when I'm done, I break it down. That's like sort of how I'm able to kind of do my day. Like Chris gets to go to work. So when he leaves, it's over and he's off. And for me, it's almost like I've needed to set something up because if it's in my living room, I don't know if I'm ever going to enjoy hanging out in my living room again. If I make it, like, that's just how my brain works.
But Bags, that's like production setup,
correct?
Backdrop, man.
Yeah. And like the lighting is good. Look how good he looks compared to
also, and this is no lighting. I just have a window right here, but I have my laptop elevated to where the camera's high.
Yeah.
A
lot of people are doing that. We're getting a lot of this in the pandemic. We're seeing a lot of ceilings,
a lot of headroom,
a lot of ceilings, a lot of headroom.
I also recommend to some people because they don't want to stack up their computer. They think it's good enough. Maybe wear a neck scarf. You know, it's not. You guys are good. You got the little beards going, but sometimes that under chin angle is rough, and I don't recommend it. And if you know you got a chin, we all know when we wake up in the morning, we go a little chinny today. Maybe it's a turtleneck. Maybe it's turtleneck in the summer. Turn the AC on. Lie to people.
I've got the Italian yet Jay Leno sized chin, which helps a little bit.
Yeah. I got sunburned as heck this weekend. I went out yesterday and I social distanced and I put out a nice blanket with my fiance and about an hour and a half. Chris, I don't think you do this a lot because I don't think you can. I looked over and I went, I forgot sunscreen. Ooh. And then I was under a blanket for like the next 4 hours. Chris, if that were to happen to you, what would you look like today?
Do you see the red backdrop behind me?
You'd be like
worse. I'd be worse than that.
Lobster status.
No, I can't do it, man. But you said fiance wedding. Was it scheduled for this year?
It was scheduled for July. It is getting postponed. Every time I'm about to call the venue, I take a deep breath and I go, we're not going to get angry because I'm trying to be the one person that calls them that isn't freaking out. And every time I call, they go, man, you're just handling this so well. And then I hang up the phone and I'm like, what the hell is going on? But we're going for next year. We're thinking we might just get married on a New York street and then have a party later. Because at this point, we're ready. Like at this point, it's annoying at this point.
I'm in the same boat. My fiance, Ashley Miller, who went to Syracuse with you, actually.
Oh, man, I know, Ashley. That's amazing. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you, man. We were supposed to get married in June. We're now into May of next year, which, as everybody has told me, bad news for me. She might actually wake up in the meantime.
That's what Barkley said to me. Barkley goes, hey, man, so what's the deal with your wedding? And I was like, I think next year. He goes, I don't know. You think she's going to change her mind by then? And I was like, all right, Chuck. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
That's a really good Barkley. Yeah, very, very good Barkley there. All right, so you were supposed to be part of the NCAA tournament coverage this year. We in Albany were supposed to have the first and second rounds of the tournament. I want to take you back to that, what would have been middle of March now. How bummed were you, dude, when you found out?
It's so funny. All right, so I'm going to give you the truth. of how this is. I think that the first weekend of March Madness is the hardest week of work for a lot of people in this industry, because there really is not any other time where there's 4 sporting events happening around the country at the same time. And then you do that throughout the day. So it's 32 games in one day. I was talking to Candace Parker about this. I was going to be the disembodied voice on the networks where, 8 minutes into that Duke Gonzaga game, it would come on and it would be me going, Adam Lefkoe from New York. We've got a possible upset brewing out there in Albany. Tennessee facing a tough battle with this big shot from Christian Okoye. And then I was going to be like, back to Jim Spanarkel. I was just going to be doing that for like 14 hours. So part of me, I was bummed, because anytime that your name is popping up on a CBS, a TNT, a TBS, that's really, really special. It's really cool. Like I remember sitting watching Kyle Korver in Creighton almost upset Florida in my high school and relying on that voice. So that was going to be really cool. But I'm not going to lie, before I knew how crazy this was going to get, I was like, wow, that was going to be a really hard work day. So I'm actually a little bit relieved. But now that feels lifetimes ago. Yeah, the fact that I totally forgot that event was I'm just happy we had the Super Bowl. But man, that would have been cool for Albany. I'm bummed for you guys. Albany has had some cool tournament moments. So you guys would have seen those moments replayed a lot, and that would have been special.
Yeah, last time, and I would have been in college at this point, but last time Albany had the tournament was Mello and Syracuse came through here. But we also had the possibility too, which we were looking forward to, our buddy Andrew Catalan, who used to work here in the market, potentially could have been part of that broadcast team that was coming back to the Capital Region. So it's so funny that you say that, though. Like, it does feel like a lifetime and a lot of Ozark episodes away.
Marty Bird, the legend. I'm wondering how many people watched Marty Bird in the first few episodes and were like, not a bad business plan. I'm going to try this out. And then they watched it develop, and hopefully they got turned away.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Would have been sort of, and don't get political or anything like that, but just pandemic in general. For Chris and I, it felt like the day where this thing really, it became real for us and really set the tone for how things were going to go was when the NBA decided they were going to postpone the entire season. It was just everything's off. And then really we saw a lot of the kind of the cascade effect after that with everything, including not just sports, but then we saw a lot of businesses start shutting down. What's been your thoughts sort of on the pandemic in general, how these sports leagues have handled it, and from that moment of everything canceling to where we are now?
So I do think that if you're making like a Mount Rushmore of the people in which it made us be more serious, Rudy Gobert's on there, Tom Hanks is on there. I'm not sure of the other two, but like Rudy Gobert, when he got it, because that moment of ignorance at that time, because he didn't know, of touching everything and then spreading and then going to Donovan Mitchell, that 100% was the oh crap moment. To see Mark Cuban looking at his phone and going, wow, and then the medical official running out, that was the oh crap moment. And I think the NBA, as it has been in a lot of situations the last few years, was well ahead of the curve of putting their foot down. Since I think we're caught between not the bigger leagues not wanting to be first, because look, you open up a baseball stadium, you open up a hockey arena, you open up a basketball arena right now. We've already seen this when China tried to bring it back with their basketball association. Getting that many people into arena is just not going to happen. But I also know, because I've done some calls with some other lower tier leagues, and I hope they don't take offense to that, whether it's Major League Soccer or forms of golf associations. A lot of them are looking at it as an opportunity. I think the Bundesliga right now, I mean, I've said that word twice. There is a benefit to other leagues trying to garner attention. And so it becomes this scale of opportunity versus putting yourself at risk. And I think that there's a risk no matter what they do. And it just comes to whether or not they have in their mind prepared enough to handle the worst case scenario. And I think we're all sort of looking at officials right now and wondering what to do. Anthony Fauci has been a voice the entire time. Other than that, it's a lot of conjecture. And I think it's going to come down to these. The commissioner has to listen to the owners and has to look at the bottom line and figure out what is the risk they're willing to take. And until they do it, we don't know if they're handling it well. Like California is a perfect example. They shut down very early and their numbers were very, very low, but they're also the hardest hit right now, one of the hardest hit by unemployment because they shut down so early. So it's a balance. And I think that we all know that we're going to bounce back strong from this. I think that a few weeks ago, we were all very convinced of a wave 2. And I think Memorial Day, people looked around and said, so a lot of people looking at the Ozarks, you brought it up, said, I'm willing to risk it. Yep. And I think Ernie Johnson said so poetically before the match, he said, it's up to you what you're willing to risk. And he has a son, Michael, who Ernie is incredible. And he said, it's not worth it to risk it for me. I have another good friend that works in the industry. I don't want to talk about his family matters, but he has a daughter that is not in good health. And he was not going to that MIT Sloan conference. And he wasn't willing to come up to New York and hang out. And I totally understood because he was in a situation where he didn't want the risk. And I think it just comes down to what you're willing to handle. And it'll be interesting. I know we all want sports back. I'm okay if there's no fans. For me, it comes down to what are the athletes comfortable with? What are all the people that have to be at the games comfortable with? And if some people are more comfortable to be there than not, then maybe they're the ones that go. But I'm ready for sports to get back because it'll be a lot more fun than talking about when it comes back.
That's well said. You worked, like you said, Bundesliga into this twice. In Albany, New York, I had nothing else to show for highlights. I showed the return of the Bundesliga, one, just to fill some time, but also just to say it because it's fun to say.
Also, like when you're putting together a sports cast, there is a part of you that looks at your A, like your number one, and goes, I need to inform people. And like I've been keeping up with what's going on in South Korea and China because when I see, okay, so that's the timeline of them coming back, how are we doing compared to them? Because, we all want to be informed and like people up there in New York, like there's probably a good amount of people, Chris, that are like, listen, Chris has never steered me wrong. And if he's telling me about this league out here in Germany, like maybe it's going to get something back here in Albany in a similar time frame. So you're a man of the people, Chris. You're just trying to keep them informed.
We're trying. Adam, let me bring there's no doubt. Let me bring you back really quickly here. I know you got to run, but I'm hoping this isn't a story you're tired of telling. We had Boog Shambi on a few weeks ago, and I said, if you don't want to tell the Chipper Jones story, I get it. You tell it all the time. That's fine. But you made a big name for yourself with your Seinfeld cast. Yeah. Bags is a huge Seinfeld guy. How much time did that put together?
All right, so you guys know how to put together a rundown.
Yeah.
So what I did was I would say Monday or Tuesday, I decided on the theme because I had done wrestling before and rap the week after. And I put it out on Twitter because I don't know if you guys ever feel like this. I got tired of doing a 3-minute sportscast where I felt like I was regurgitating the news that had happened that day. And I was trying to figure out how do I speak to people in my area at that time was Louisville and get them to feel involved in the sportscast, not tell me what to do because I want to have creative control on producing and organizing it, but like feel like a rooting interest in like maybe I'll say something that'll get on the news. That's not a poll or like putting people's names up on the bottom. And so I said, let me just get Seinfeld references. And I probably wrote down in a Word document like 50 or 100 of the best ones. And then that Sunday when I would do the newscast, because I had to take it, because I think part of the reason the clip did well is, when it's on the news, it's never edited. Like if a dog poops on the set, it's great because we had no control. And so I produced the newscast like I normally would. normal rundown, normal scripts. I produced it like earlier than I normally would. And then I went in and I printed out all my references and I made it a Mad Lib. So every sentence I was like, what reference could I put in here? So that it still told the story. It still had like a continuous thread. But I think the other thing was I really love Seinfeld. Like I remember when they put that out on DVD, the box set, and people were like, oh my God, you can watch this whenever you want for the rest of your life. You can watch Puffy Shirt. Like I was so excited. But yeah, that was a crazy time, man. Seinfeld was an explosion. And then the next week, Rap was the one where I got tweeted out by Time Magazine on Twitter. And then 8 minutes later, it was World Star Hip Hop. And I was like, I had crossed the threshold.
Made it.
And the GM of the station told everybody except for me that I was going to stop and then restart during sweeps and say sponsors' names. And that's when I pulled the ripcord and I said, I am not jumping the shark. I said, I appreciate that you have that idea, but that wouldn't be fun. Because it was always fun, you know, I think, but I appreciate it's an interesting story. It was a crazy time, man. Like I was doing interviews. I had never been interviewed before at that time. Like we're used to doing interviews. That was the first time people were like, how'd you come up with it? It was like a Baltimore radio station. And I was like, I just did. They're like, clang, pow, great idea. What's going on? They're like, do a Seinfeld thing right now. And I was like, hello, Newman. They're like, this guy's great. Man, and it was weird to be on the other side. It made me look at the industry and be like, man, we're all just looking for stuff to talk about at every time. It was funny.
No doubt. Well, Ashley's watching and she says, what's up? Thank you for, and I know the last time we spoke, I used back channels to get to you through Ashley. So we appreciate you taking the time here, man. Last thing, and I promise to let you go here, Bags, unless you got something you want to jump in. What would be your, like when contestants go on Jeopardy, they supposedly have like one specialty category that they're just going to they'll crush. What would be your specialty
That's
category?
True.
I think so, yeah.
And then they put it up there, so it's like everybody gets one round to just destroy and like go on a run.
Yeah.
That's why they'll be like Caribbean pirates, and then one guy just clears. I never knew that.
Takes the eye patch out of his pocket, puts it on.
I saw this woman getting destroyed the other day, and she got one column, and it was like 1900s British laureates, poet laureates. If I had to pick one, I would say something regarding Jim Carrey. I feel like that man, when I watch him, I just see so many moments in my life that like flashback. So anything Jim Carrey would be one. Like if there was Philadelphia sports from the 2000s, that would be mine, because that was like the peak of my crazy sports fandom. And if I had to pick another one, it would be the life and times of Brian Dawkins. Last week on my show, The Lefkoe Show, I had Charles Barkley and Brian Dawkins. And I didn't realize it. My dad hit me up and he was like, you just had those two guys in your pod. Like my AIM screen name was Doc for MVP. Like this man in some form or fashion is a part of almost all of my passwords. And what's really funny is, I'll say this because you guys are around the Syracuse area. So I didn't get into Newhouse right away out of high school. And I think part of the reason is to get into Newhouse, you had to do that. At least I did a dinner interview where like I met with some guy and we talked. And I'll never forget, he asked me, if you could sit at a table with three people, alive or dead, who would you pick? And I remember being, 17 and like the whole time being on my best behavior. And then I had never thought about that question. And I said, number one, I really think I'd want Benjamin Franklin. And because I'm trying to impress him. And then I said, who I'd like? Robin Williams. And he was alive at the time. And he was like, because I just thought that interaction would be great. And then I sat there and I hemmed and I hawed. And then I said, Brian Dawkins. And I just remember the look in the dude's face where he was like, nah, you're not coming in. I'll never forget that. And I was like, you know what? I still want to answer Brian Dawkins to that question every time just to like remind me. But it was, man, I botched that. I absolutely bombed that dinner interview.
Who are the three now then? So who are the three today?
Oh, shit. Brian Dawkins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, what I realized right afterwards, my grandfather, I would love to have him. My thing would be like, this is weird. I would want it to be like my grandfather, my father, and then whoever they want. Because I would love to watch them interact with them. Like I've said, I don't have a tattoo, but if I did, I would go like grandfather's name, my dad's name, and then my name. Our Lefkoe trait is very strong. Every time I've met people that have known my grandfather, they're like, he was like a dad to me. And I was like, that's dope. So like whoever they want to be entertained by, I would just watch them. I talk enough. I would rather watch them talk to somebody they want to talk to, which is probably Brian Dawkins.
Well, I saw your tweet over the weekend when Brady was like, it's not the Falcons, it's the Eagles that keep me up at night. And man, I could tell you were, that warmed your heart.
I'm so genuinely happy that the referee screwed the Jaguars with that Miles Jack fumble and that the Patriots won, because if the Eagles would have beaten the Jaguars, it still would have been sweet as a huge Eagles fan. But to beat the Patriots with Tom Brady, one, it can never be taken away. Two, the fact that it's in Tom Brady's head like that. And three, that was something that Giants fans – look, I went to Syracuse. So I was between Patriots fans and Giants fans in those 2000s during the 2007 undefeated season. Eli gets the chip. This was also during Red Sox Yankees at its peak, like 2005 to like right around that time. And to take that a little bit away from the Giants – and the fact that Brady probably in his head is like Mario Manningham and David Tyree, like those two plays. But the fact that we just outscored them 41-33 and that Brandon Graham got that strip sack, I got a chance to be there for that Super Bowl. And I got to my seats with my mom. I was able to get an extra ticket that my mom was able to come. And my dad, because he had season tickets, won a raffle to go, which was like incredible. And he was on the other side of the stadium, and we get to our seats and we're surrounded by Patriots fans. And I'm wearing a Dawkins jersey. And I said to all of them when the spirits were still good in the beginning, I said, listen, man, I'm down with all you guys cheering, and I hope you're down with me cheering. I'm never going to come at you. I just ask, don't come at me. And that like when you cheer, I don't need you to direct it at me. I was like, you guys can cheer with each other. I don't need you clapping in my face. Right. And as long as that's it, we could do whatever. And then I said, and if Brady gets the ball with 2 minutes left, don't even ask me if I'm nervous because you're winning the game. Like that was my fear. And when he got the ball with 2 minutes left, the whole section looked at me and just started laughing. And I was like, y'all won. Congratulations, y'all won. And then when he got the sack, all of them just deflated. And I went nuts, but it made it a really cool thing where after the game, like I was shaking hands with Patriots fans and they were all saying, you guys earned it. And I think that a lot of the Patriots fans with those Giants Super Bowls kind of felt like, if I don't know, if he doesn't make that catch, if Eli doesn't make that throw. And with that one, it was like, that's just how it happened. And it makes it so much more sweet because even when you win, Sean, and we talked about asterisk earlier, people will find a way to put their subjective asterisk on your Super Bowl. And it's really cool to hear from Brady that it haunts him. And if it haunts him, then it should haunt everybody else. And it's cool that we did something that's haunting people. I love that.
Dude, this was a lot of fun, man. Thank you for taking the time with us here. Seriously, I know even though you're not going into the offices every day, you're as busy as you've been. So we appreciate the time.
Yeah, man. Keep grinding, keep kicking ass. I see Boog and I see all the other guys you're getting. Keep doing it because, man, local sports to me is the reps. It's like, but it's like the voice, and it's you're representing a city and an area. And like for me, being in Louisville, Kentucky, and Nebraska, like. One, I cared about those communities, and I do miss that. I do miss kind of going out and people being like, "Hey, man, thank you for covering that. That means a lot to us." And every city I worked at, there was one time where I called my mom and I said, "I think I'm going to live here forever. Like, I think I'm going to live in Louisville, Kentucky forever. I think I'm going to live in Hastings, Nebraska forever." And when you brought up the Seinfeld stuff earlier, I didn't know any of that crap was going to happen. And all I know is that the work ethic that it takes for local news, if you never experience that and you never make that a part of your everyday life, like being on the local news has made quarantine so much easier to handle.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people realize that when you spend every day shooting, editing, writing, producing, dealing with news producers, dealing with tape editors, putting together a show, doing your own makeup, getting dressed on your way to the studio, drilling it, getting done, and then going, I got to do it again tomorrow.
Right.
That's what quarantine is. But every day you just attack it and you just have to ask yourself, what can I do today that's going to be special? Or how can I get better at this that I wasn't good at it before? And I don't know. There's a part of me that like we're all doing it, the same shit. Oh, I don't know if I can say that one.
Oh yeah.
Okay. we're all doing it, and it's but I appreciate it because, like, I'm not gonna lie, I came on here and I said, what is this StreamYard that we're using with these graphics, and they're putting up lower thirds, and like both of their shots are so clean and they got like a bug up here. I was like, this is cleaner than this is cleaner than NBA on ESPN. Like when I see their online stuff. So like y'all are doing the damn thing, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
Well, we're trying, man. Like I said to all of our big guests, and you are one of them. I don't know why the hell you said yes to this, but we're glad you did, dude. So listen, stay safe. Try to keep the sanity and the rest of the wedding planning. And I'll be back to bother you sometime down the road.
Love it. Sean, Chris, you guys are great. Chris, you outkicked your coverage with Ashley, and I can say that because I get told that every day. And after a while, the worst fear is that your significant other looks at you and goes, "Did you? And what does that mean how I kicked?" And then I go, "Don't worry about it. Look, bravo." And that's usually how I try and save myself. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Adam, thank you, dude, man. Stay well. Adam Lefkoe, check out the show, Bleacher Report app, and check him out Tuesdays, NBA on TNT. I'm crying. He makes me laugh. NBA on TNT. Well, the one story I didn't share with Adam was when we spoke on the radio, I asked him, like, can you believe these baseball celebrations these days? Guys hit walk-off home runs, and they're coming out there with the buckets of double bubble, and they're pouring them on players. They're wasting all this good double bubble. And he's like, do you think double bubble's good gum? What the hell's wrong with you?
Right. You chew it 2 seconds, done. Flavor, done.
Yeah. Adam's fun, man, because he can just go in 1,000 different directions. And if you haven't seen his Seinfeld cast, check it out. It's all over YouTube because it literally went viral. And he uses like 40 different Seinfeld references in a local sports cast. It's really cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember that when that happened, but I haven't seen it in a long time, so I am going to go back and check it out.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, Bags. I will see you later today, man, at the TV station. It feels like we're close. And it's funny, Adam said it, now that we're post-Memorial Day, it feels like everybody's just kind of now even more so chomping at the bit. Like, all right, summer's around the corner. We've heard baseball, basketball, hockey is returning in June or July. Let's figure this thing out. And it's and a lot of government officials, and include Governor Cuomo in this, are echoing that. Like, hey, look, if you can do it safely and without fans, go for it.
Yeah. Look, all that being said, this is now as critical a time as it was in the beginning, because this is the part where it's easy to let your guard down. And if we don't keep doing the things we're supposed to be doing, don't keep maintaining the social distancing and the precautions, now we see all the numbers coming down, the weather's getting nicer, everybody wants to be outside doing everything. This is the time when it's easiest to let your guard down. And if we don't continue to be vigilant in what we're supposed to be doing, we could really hurt ourselves down the road. So all signs are good right now, but it's important that we keep them going that direction.
All right, buddy. See you later today, man. This was fun.
Sounds good, man.
All right, Sean Bagnardi, Chris Honorato. We're with you on Facebook and today on Twitter as well, each and every week. We'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out, everyone.